Hi everyone. So again, another paper one part A practice question. This one will be about the non-price determinants of demand. So the question that I came up with to share with you today is explain two non-price determinants that would lead to an increase in demand. Once again, this is a 10-mark question. Because it's 10 marks and it's part of paper one part A, you should aim to respond to an essay question with 10 marks in about 30 minutes. So let's get started and see how do we construct an essay that addresses the specific demands of this question and hopefully accesses level 5, which is getting a 9 or a 10 out of 10. So step 1 is your introduction and your definitions paragraph. What I have written in black at the top is basically my coaching you or teaching you how to structure the essay. You don't actually write that in the essay. The actual essay is what I have written in blue. Okay, so how did I construct my introduction and my definitions paragraph? Well, I wrote something like, in order to address the demands of this question, a few key terms need to be defined. Demand is defined as the quantity of a good or service that consumers are both willing and able to buy at a specific set of prices over a certain period of time. The non-price determinants of demand are defined as the factors that lead to an increase or decrease in demand, represented by shifts of the demand curve, as opposed to changes in price, which only cause movements along the demand curve and changes only in quantity demanded. So you'll see that I chose to define the key term demand and the key term non-price determinants of demand. Let's move on to step 2. So step 2 is to draw and label the diagram fully. Since the question is about an increase in demand, I drew a diagram that shows an increase in demand, a shift of the demand curve to the right. I have price in dollars here on the y-axis and quantity in units here on the x-axis. And I have one demand curve, D1, and a second demand curve, D2, and an arrow that shows a shift to the right. I drew an increase in demand because the question is about an increase in demand. So make sure your diagram addresses the specific demands of the question. Now, step 3 is the bulk of the essay. This is where you explain economic theory, making sure you fully explain your diagram using the same labels, shifts, arrows that you have drawn in your diagram so that there is a connection between your diagram and the essay. And make sure you always link back to the question. This is step 3. This is the bulk of the essay. So what did I write as the next paragraph after I drew the diagram? Remember, the first paragraph is the introduction and definitions paragraph, followed by the diagram, followed by the explanation. In the explanation, I'm also explaining the diagram. It's not just about explaining theory, but explaining what's happening in the diagram that you drew. So, two non-price determinants that could lead to an increase in demand include an increase in income in the case of a normal good, and a rise in the price of a substitute good. An increase in income will allow a consumer to purchase more of the good or service in question if it is a normal good, ceteris paribus. For example, the demand for restaurant meals increases when there's an increase in income, and this is represented by the shift of the demand curve from D1 to D2 as shown in the diagram drawn above. This here I am explaining and referring back to the diagram that I drew. Similarly, a rise in the price of a substitute will incentivize a consumer to switch to a cheaper alternative. For example, if the price of Pepsi rises, the demand for Coca-Cola will increase since it is a close substitute to Pepsi, ceteris paribus. And the demand curve for Coca-Cola will shift from D1 to D2 as shown in the diagram drawn above. So here what I've done is I've explained the theory, I've addressed the demands of the question, and I've explained my diagram. Please never draw a diagram unless you're going to explain it. Every diagram you draw must be followed by an explanation of that diagram. This brings us to step 4, which is to write a short and simple conclusion paragraph that wraps up your essay while restating and linking back to the question. This is where you have to make sure that you have understood and addressed the specific demands of the question. So what's my conclusion paragraph? I wrote something like, to conclude, a rise in the price of a substitute good, as well as an increase in income, in the case of a normal good, are two non-price determinants that would lead to an increase in demand of a specific good or service, and hence a shift of its demand curve to the right from D1 to D2. Again, I summed up the main idea and I had a conclusion paragraph that also somehow links to my diagram because I'm using the same labels that I used in the diagram. and this is the essay. Now, I talk about this in all my videos where I talk about how to construct or respond to essay questions, but it's also good to reiterate and review basically what are the assessment criteria. So remember, for a paper 1 part A 10-mark question, these are the assessment criteria or the assessment indicators. There are 5 levels, level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm assuming we're all aiming for level 5. You want to get either a 9 or a 10 out of 10, right? So what does that look like? You have to show that the specific demands of the question are understood and addressed. You have to show that relevant theory is fully explained. You have to show that relevant economic terms are used appropriately throughout the response. You don't actually get marks for how well you define the key terms, but you get marks or you get assessed on how well you use them and how appropriately you use them throughout the response. However, my advice is also to define at least 1 or 2 relevant key terms. And also the last thing is, where appropriate, a relevant diagram or diagrams are included and fully explained. So just to end this video with a few ways you can support this channel. Creating videos for this channel takes time and energy, and if you want to show your support, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com, IB Econ Guru. This is something like Patreon, where you can just, buy me a coffee, and I would really appreciate your support. Number 2, if you actually want to become a member of this channel and access exclusive members only perks, here's the link. It's in the video description below as well. If you want to fill out a contact form for online tutoring, if you're an IB Economics student and you want online tutoring, or if you're an IB Economics teacher, you're new to IB Economics, you're looking for online coaching, you can also go to ibeconguru.com and fill out the contact form. If you don't want to spend any money, I totally get it. You can like, share, comment, and subscribe. These engagements with the video actually help with the all-knowing YouTube algorithm. Like the video, share the video, comment, leave a comment if you have any questions, subscribe to the channel. All the links mentioned are listed in the video description below as well. I hope you have a great week ahead of you, and I look forward to making more videos to help you prepare for your IB Economics exams and ace them, hopefully. Have a good one. Bye.